What's going on, folks? Welcome to another edition of the Critical Beard Podcast.
Critical Beard Podcast.
This is a special edition, and I'm one of your co-hosts today, the Cardinal, and this is my other co-host.
I'm Meatball, the definitive edition.
Whoa, that's so cool.
I know. There's new dungeons and everything on me.
Wow, dude.
I know.
I'd buy that for a cent.
Makes sense.
So today we've got a pretty obvious topic. Let's see if you can figure it out. If you can't by the time we get around to it, then you will when I say it out of my mouth hole. We always start the show with a little segment I like to call "What You Playing?"
What you playing?
Are you asking me? Or
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh.
What you playing?
Well, I just rolled credits on a game called Chrono Trigger. I don't know how to pronounce that. Is it?
I think it's Polish. I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty sure.
Chrono Trigger.
I love the ending, like that, the canon ending. So good. Brings a tear to my eye.
It's so good. And we're gonna do our retroactive re-review.
Because I just beat it too, like last week. So
yeah, we both just
replayed
fresh. It. So we're gonna get into that. It's gonna be our main topic. I beat it. It's obviously good. I'll tell you why later.
Sorry.
It's fine. It's a pretty good game. It's okay. Has
You pop out of 10.
It's fine. I mean, the soundtrack's garbage, but
It's serviceable.
No, and then I'm playing Ring Fit Adventure.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
I'm
need
trying
it.
to do that
I'm
every
a fatso.
other night at least. It is so funny, dude. That it kicks your asshole.
I know. That's why I need it.
It makes you realize how terrible you are and shit, like how bad shape you're in. So yeah,
I don't need a game to tell me that, but
it's nice because it's that real. It's the first time I've really felt distracted by game mechanics.
that's why I want it.
Because it's turn based. It's an RPG, so I mean it's a super linear RPG where and then you get to points where like I'm to the point now where like enemies have elements and like each attack has elements. So, like this guy's weak to squats and this guy's weak to fucking leg raises and stuff.
I'll tell you one thing though. I'm weak against squats.
The game isn't like all of those moves take at least like 20 HP from me. But it's not like super awesome. Like it's definitely very like it's coming off. It's like this is an RPG, but like if you've never ever played an RPG, this makes Pokemon look like Xenogears. You know what I mean?
What do you though? Like it's the first time that they've ever tried.
No, you're not really in it for
a workout game with actual, meat on its bones.
But it's got some charm, and the main bad guy is a giant buff black dragon, and it's hilarious. He's just this big big bro dragon, and he's like wearing like a tank top. And he's like, "Come at me, bro!" And he like uses weights in his attacks. Like it's ridiculous. Anyways, what you playing?
I am playing Chrono Cross.
Heard of it?
It's okay. It's good.
Love it.
It's good. Yeah.
It has a lot of more objective problems than its predecessor.
Yeah,
I still have so much love for that game.
I haven't played it in such a long. The only reason I played through Chrono Trigger was because I didn't remember if I actually really enjoyed Chrono Cross as a sequel. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna play Chrono Trigger, then I'm gonna play Chrono Cross. So I'm trying my best to like be objective and be subjective at the same time, because I'm trying to rate it as its own game, and I'm also trying to rate it as a sequel at the same time. So
my biggest issues with Chrono Cross lie in its like the initial opening is strong, and then the first little bit is the whole like I'm a guy in a village thing, and then it gets into a little bit when you're in the first town. There's a little bit of dragginess when you're trying to like recruit your first party members and stuff.
Yeah, there's some weird pacing problems. There's some weird pacing problems. I like what they do with so far I like a lot what they've done with um, making you feel like you have some sort of agency, with like branching paths. There's tons of branching paths,
Mhm.
so that's cool. But
And there's so many
yeah,
characters
there's
you can
problems.
miss.
There's
Like,
problems with pacing. There's problems with plotting. There's almost no characterization except for like the main four characters. But yeah, I'll get into that when I'm done. But yeah, it's no Chrono Trigger, but luckily the music and the
music, battle system, and graphics are all top notch.
yeah, the art design, Sans characters is really good. I hate the characters look garbage, except Surge and Link's, like they look all right, but I really hate the character design. It's just ugly. I'm just like, what is this, man?
I disagree.
It's so
I love the character design. I think they look awesome. I think it's like arguably the best looking PS1 game.
It's I mean,
like,
I think FF9 beats it out, but it's up there, man. It's up there.
It's
sure.
up there. It's up there with Vagrant Story, Final Fantasy IX, and Chrono Cross. I think are like the three best looking PS1 games.
But other than that, not really. Honestly, I've kind of plateaued on Animal Crossing right now. It's like not even worth mentioning. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I just want to kind of bust through Chrono Cross, and then I want to start playing Final Fantasies.
Are you really going to go through every single one?
Oh yeah. No, I used to do it yearly when I had zero life. Like zero life. I mean, I still don't really have a life now, but when I had even less life, I would play through all. I mean, at that point, it was like all 12, yearly. So but it's been a while. So.
Good. Well, that brings us to our next segment.
Our next smegma.
Which is news. John, I'm actually getting calls that there is not a lot of news happening right now.
It's a candle.
We are waiting on the Nintendo Direct to give us some real news, but for now we'll have to settle for what is news the bottom of the barrel, which is Ubisoft's Forward. Which is the worst name for a Direct I've seen yet. I think all of them have been pretty good names. Like
I like how you call them like all regardless Directs, because they really set the set the paradigm.
I mean, it's a fucking Direct. Like Nintendo Direct is the best name, and then PlayStation has a decent one, and then Xbox Insider or something like that. I don't know. They're fine. This one, Forward, I was like, oh god, okay, no, it's not. That's not a good name. Stop it. Drop it. Drop the name.
Get a new PR guy.
Ubisoft,
right?
give me
I understand you're French, but maybe you need a better overseas marketer, because it's not working.
The Ubisoft Forward. That doesn't convey
that
that
mean
you're going to do a presentation.
And I like how what they presented was it's like the same old it's like the same old stuff they're always making.
Forward.
So it's
Ubisoft
like we're moving forward.
Listen, hold on. We got a new Assassin's Creed. We got a new Far Cry.
Pump your brakes.
We got a new Rainbow Six.
But guess what? We don't pump them out yearly anymore. So progress?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is progress, but whatever.
Really the only thing to talk about here, we saw like 30 minutes of Assassin's Creed gameplay. Compared to, so the problem here is we just got a bunch of reviews dropped for Ghost of Tsushima, and I've been watching a lot of reviews on that, and just like watching the gameplay, like when someone's playing Ghost of Tsushima next to the new Assassin's Creed that's not even out yet. Ghost comes out this Friday. It looks like night and day, man. It's like Ghost looks like so artistic and just like, because I know a lot of people
Ghost looks like ironically, Ghost looks like it's pointing forwards in terms of getting rid of old, the old modern game design, and moving forward, and Assassin's Creed, just you look at it and it looks like it could have came out gameplay wise like 10 years ago. I'm like, oh, it's Assassin's Creed.
I mean, and I'm gonna play it like I am because it's gonna be it's an open world, it's an RPG, it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna have fun building up my character and collecting armor, and the gameplay loop is fun. An Assassin's Creed game is never something I want to watch someone else play, and maybe the first one when it first came out, it was like whoa the graphics, but like now it's like okay. They're just open world RPGs at this point. I mean, they really are. Like they're
They're the white bread of open world RPGs. It's like white bread's okay. I'd like some like specialty bread, please. Maybe some rye or some sourdough. But
I mean, Odyssey really leaned heavily into that. It was just like all. I mean, they had like, I mean, everything. Like you could equip different helmets and you know gauntlets and armor and weapons, and then you can even select like in the new Xenoblade, how you can select what actually appears versus what you have equipped, which is always cool. But it's a full-fledged action RPG. Like at this point, it is. You have stats, you have levels, you have. I mean, there's even like level-gated areas where there's monsters that are or enemies that are like level like 67. You know.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's not Assassin's Creed anymore. I don't know why they don't even. They just call it. They should call it Ubisoft Valhalla, or
Ubisoft New Historical Area.
Mm-hmm. Ubisoft Greece, Ubisoft, Vikings or whatever. I don't know. It's not Assassin's Creed. Anyways, whatever. So that was fine. That was most of the direct. Was that what really caught my eye? We didn't see any gameplay, and these are also I know people say Far Cry is also very formulaic, like Assassin's Creed, and it is. I also just buy every one of those games and play them the same way. I consume it's
popcorn, man. It's popcorn.
Yeah, I'm not eating popcorn because it's delicious like a filet mignon.
Certain media I just call it popcorn. Like certain movies, I know they ain't good, but like I'll watch Bloodsport 2 times a month. It's not like it's not cinematic genius, but my gosh, is it an entertaining movie.
My dad still has that movie on VHS.
It's so good movie. So good movie.
So good.
Yeah, some games. I mean, it's candy.
It's definitely
just eat it.
But here's the difference. So I never play Assassin's Creed for a story. Never. Not since the first 2-3 games. Whereas Far Cry, there's hit and miss, but like especially 3 with like Voss as the main character and stuff, like he had that performance and that just like that villain was such a compelling part of that game. So to me, I think
seems like they're really leaning into the villain in this one.
Well, so what they've done without doing it is most people have already figured it out. So they've cast. So we saw, obviously the character who plays Gus from Breaking Bad and Grand Moff Gideon in Mandalorian, who's motion capturing as this new, fascist leader of this Cuban style country, and he's sitting there like with his son, who's like probably like the next, in line to be ruler. And his son, his son's like not as harsh, or like he's not as hard edged as he wants him to be, and so he's kind of walking him up to the roof of this building. He's telling him how a grenade works, and there's like all these people rioting in the streets, and the implication is that he's sitting there like, he hands his son the grenade, like, do you like throw this grenade at these rioters, like fucking kill them, like, and I love that actor so much, and the little kid is being played by the kid who played Coco.
Coco?
Or was Coco? I never actually saw Coco, so I don't.
Oh.
Is Coco a girl or a boy?
Coco's a girl, but Coco's the grandma. But like, there's a little girl.
I clearly have
not seen this movie. It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Yeah, I've heard it's amazing. I've never watched. Heather always tells me to watch it.
I think it was a girl. I don't know. I saw it when it came out. That was the last time I saw it.
But it's the main. I think it's the main boy in Coco.
It was a boy.
The main boy in Coco is the kid in Far Cry 6. They show this cool cinematic. Obviously, it's all CG, but it's really, really, really well done motion capture stuff that I enjoyed, and I enjoy that guy. The actor's performance is so good. He's always a villain, but it's fine because he's just a great fucking villain. he's so good at like just delivering these calm lines, but you know he's about to like lose his fucking mind. And then it wasn't very long after that trailer that people figured out that little boy is Voss from Far Cry 3. So this is a prequel.
They theorize it.
Oh, it's totally him. They've all but confirmed it. The little kid has the exact same scar like on his eyebrow. He's like this. He's got the same like facial features. It's pretty much. I mean, why wouldn't they do that? He's the most popular character.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just letting you talk because I have nothing to say about Far Cry. I've tried to play. I tried to play the last two. I just couldn't get into it.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to get into another Far Cry in the next generation. Whatever.
Far Cry, the next generation.
I'm excited to consume that, and my favorite thing ever was always Boss's character, and I love this Gus actor, so I'm all in this game. I'm gonna play it. Whatever.
You sound like a real big fan. I am ready to consume this.
Well,
please,
because I see that I know that these games aren't top tier.
It's Ubisoft. They make products.
But I will totally buy that product and enjoy it. You know?
Hey, again, like popcorn or candy. It's like, I know what to expect, but I got a sweet tooth. So,
you know, it was like the one day I can describe. It was October 27th, 2017. We got Assassin's Creed Origins, Mario Odyssey, and Wolfenstein 2. I bought all three of them because they were all so much the complete different, thing. Like you had Assassin's Creed, which is this like popcorn junk food, and then you have Mario, which is like top tier,
the most exquisitely made cake.
Yeah, just this top tier, but it's still sweet. It's not like anything.
It's really well made.
And then you have over here, you have Wolfenstein, which is like the Tarantino of video games, right?
It's like a
super
steak.
Violent, artistic, well acted, dark as fuck.
Steak.
And, like a rare steak, this amazing, ice cream cake up here.
I'm
and
just
then
gonna start comparing things to food.
Thing of popcorn. Yeah,
it seems like it works pretty well.
But it was such a great thing because all three of them worked well together. Because when I get kind of a little like tired with one of them, I just make move to the other one. And you know me, I'm so fucking.
I can't do that. Two is the most games I could play.
Yeah, I generally like two. I like to have a Switch game and a PS4 game. That's like why I like to have an on the go guy and then like a dude I can play on the TVs.
So anyways, I need a game I can play on the toilet. Oh.
Then they showed a whole bunch of other stupid stuff that I don't care about. But we didn't hear about Beyond Good and Evil 2, which where the fuck is that game, man?
Yeah, it just disappeared, didn't it?
We didn't hear about Skull and Bones, which is another game that just disappeared.
Yeah, I forgot about that one too.
Where are these games?
This is what happens when you release hype too early, or you know what I mean? It's like people just forget about it. It's like,
biggest problem here is no Splinter Cell.
Is that the biggest problem?
For me, because I love Splinter Cell, and I mean, other than Metal Gear, that's my favorite like stealth franchise, and
there's not a lot to choose from.
Other than the like 4 ones,
other than like the main 3 or 4.
It's funny, even Assassin's Creed is not a stealth game. You know how long it took them to put a fucking crouch button in Assassin's Creed? There's not a crouch button in like the first like.
Assassin's Creed was always to me more like social stealth, like Hitman, where it was more of like you trying to blend into a crowd.
Yeah, but Hitman has a crouch button. All the Hitman games had a crouch. Just let me feel like I'm sneaking, even if I'm not. Like, let me feel. Halo is sneakier than Assassin's Creed.
GoldenEye 007 for the 64 has a crouch button. Come on.
It's a stealth game.
It's a stealth game.
So, anyways, we didn't hear from a whole bunch of stuff. No Prince of Persia, no Splinter Cell, no.
New Prince of Persia, I think would have really blown up the internet, but
it would have been so cool. Why don't they do that,
Ubisoft.
Man?
You know what Ubisoft should do? They should get back in bed with Nintendo because they seem to be good at that.
Could you imagine if they came up with they partnered with Nintendo to make a Prince of Persia platformer or something like that? I mean, God, dude,
yes,
that would be so awesome. Great. Because
Yeah, that would be really
what would
cool.
really suck is if they did like an open world Prince of Persia, because then it's just like, well, that's just Assassin's Creed.
You know, that's what they would most likely do. But,
Oh yeah, and they gave us updates on like Ghost Recon and games that are already out and stuff, and it's just like, oh, okay. So overall, very very disappointing direct from Ubisoft.
C plus.
No.
Dang, lower than a C plus.
C. No plus.
Minus. Just C.
Just C.
Okay.
So, anyways, that's really the news. We got some we got the reviews, embargoes lifted from these two games. I'm looking forward to one: Paper Mario, The Origami King, and Ghost of Tsushima, and both are supposedly really good. Ghost is getting better reviews than Mario, but that's kind of, you know,
Paper Mario has always been. I mean, come on, it's always been niche.
The biggest problem I heard about, the only real big problem I've heard about Paper Mario is that the battles, it's not really an RPG. You don't get XP from battles; you just get coins.
Whatever.
But the rest of the game is supposed to be really, really good.
I mean, I'm playing through Chrono Cross right now, and there's no experience points in Chrono Cross. I don't care, as long as it's good.
Yeah. So, and the battles are weird because they're like the puzzle grid battles. But I think people generally don't hate that. They think that's actually kind of cool. They just wish that there was more reward.
But there's a vocal minority of fanboys who, you know, the purists. We want one that's exactly like the one we grew up with. We want 1,000-Year Door 2. It's like, really, dude? You want?
And Nintendo is either going to give you a remake or they're going to do something completely fucking different.
Yeah.
They're not really ones to take the safe road and just give you the like thing that you want. Just done. So anyways, that's cool, and I'm looking forward to both those games. I got them both paid off, pre-ordered, ready to go.
Ding dong, bing bong.
Can't wait for Friday. So anyways, that brings us to our main topic, which is
main topic for the evening.
You beat a game called Chrono Trigger recently, and so did I.
Oh my gosh, you did too? What a coincidence.
I hadn't played this game since I was younger. This is the third time I've done a deep dive on Chrono Trigger, but the first time I was young.
Yeah.
The second time I was like in high school, I think maybe. Yeah. Anyways, this is where I really like. I don't know. I paid attention a lot more when I played them before. You know, I was just like,
yeah.
I don't know. My focus is so much different now. Back then, I was just like, consume.
That's kind of why I want to play through those older Final Fantasies, because I've been really into like talking to every NPC. I used to talk to all NPCs when I was like younger. Then I just stopped doing it in games. I was just like, yeah, whatever. I don't need to talk to NPCs. But I really loved the NPCs.
Just catching things that like I missed before, and
little deets,
references to things I may not have gotten before when I was a little kid, and stuff like that. And I think the second time I played through it, like in high school, I was just sort of like, I just want to play through this again for the, whatever. And I didn't really, I was kind of like not really paying much attention when I was playing it because I'd already played it before.
You were in high school, man. You don't got to make.
And I was in high school. I was a little shitwad.
Yeah. You're a little punk.
So, Anselmo, what do you think of Chrono Trigger?
Well, I think it's the best Final Fantasy ever made. And the best Dragon Quest ever made.
Definitely. Objectively so, in my opinion.
I guess do you want to just start Want to
Do
just
like
start with graphics
traditional
presentation?
review.
Yeah, because I mean that's how all my notes are.
Yep. Let's do it.
Presentation of this game is awesome. I love the presentation of this game is one of its next to its gameplay. It's one of its strongest aspects.
A day.
It really has. Like,
I mean,
it's
I think
quite incredible.
The Square Enix, the SquareSoft, and Nintendo SNES games, the sprites are so fucking charming in both of those that like I want them all over my face. I want like, tattoos of like
even
all
compared to like I mean FF6 has some really great sprite work too. I'd say FF6 is like a step down from Chrono Trigger, but like Chrono Trigger
was made after. Which is weird.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's probably because they didn't have Akira Toriyama.
Yeah, exactly. That was going to be my major point. Like they took a more stylistically believable approach compared to Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy always used abstraction. Like it always had like the chibi characters that didn't look anything like Yoshitaka Amano's artwork, and then they had these really ultra detailed enemy sprites. And that's cool. Like I like that style just fine.
That's why well the right side of the screen would be like lined up with all your little chibi characters, and then the left side would be like
it's
one
just like
enemy.
Super badass sprite characters. But like that doesn't age super well. But there's something about, because like I said, like they take in Final Fantasy, they took Amano's concept art and they didn't really they don't look anything like Amano's art. Like it's kind of ridiculous. Like, why do you have a concept artist that doesn't look like the art? But like for Chrono Trigger, like they took Toriyama, which was already like super famous in Japan just by his manga and Dragon Warrior and stuff.
He hasn't done anything notable.
And like the sprites look like his artwork. Yeah, like it's really incredible. Like because they took a more stylistic believability where everything is unified in a style and everything is unified in a design. It's just such a well made like presentation, and I love how the all the enemies are all to scale with the characters too. So it's like, I don't know, like the farther along in the game you get, like these enemies just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then like at the end you're just fighting lava, and it's like he takes up like 2/3 of the screen. You're just like, oh.
Yeah. Whereas in Final Fantasy VI, you're fighting a character that takes up the screen like the very first like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, and then like for Final Fantasy VI, for example, you get this cool, Kefka, really amazing sprite work, of that final bosses. But like, there's no scale. Like, how big is that supposed to be? Like, what am I looking at?
It's like artistic scale versus.
Yeah, it's very more. Yeah, they use more abstract, where Chrono Trigger uses more stylized believability, and it aged super good.
Also, as a kid who, I just loved any RPG that dealt with modern time, because every RPG was always like medieval.
Yeah, there's only a couple.
Even I love that this game, like even starting in 1000 AD, and the medieval ages is already like hundreds of years ago. Yeah. And so it's funny to like, because you're not in modern times obviously, but they call it modern, but it's a time travel game. So they're like modern time.
It's modern enough. You know what I mean? Like, it just brings me to like all the doodads that the game has.
It's like Industrial Revolution time period or something like that. And
it's a little steampunky, a little Industrial Revolution. But like so many little doodads everywhere. Another thing with the presentation, like if you like just go into a random NPC's house and there's like, you go to the kitchen and there's like a toaster and an oven and a refrigerator and some glasses and some dishes and a sink and some cabinets and some house plants. Like this is a Super Nintendo game. Like, like you look at like Final Fantasy V, Final Fantasy VI. It's like you go to an NPC's house, there's going to be like a bucket,
or their houses are all copied and pasted.
Yeah. And then you take into account the tile set change. Like I like how it progressively does it too, because you jump back to 600 and the tile set is slightly different. You know what I mean? Like instead of a refrigerator, there's like hanging vegetables, and instead of just little tiny details that.
Well, and everything's a little bit smaller. Like the houses aren't quite as big yet.
Yeah, it's just ridiculously like.
I like how there's one place where in the medieval times when you time travel, there's a tavern and an inn, and then in modern times they have merged.
Yeah,
like the tavern and the inn are the same place, and I thought that was really cool. It was just like it's so cool to see. My favorite thing in that whole game is that small gap between 600 and 1000.
Yeah,
because of the visual changes aren't super intense. Yeah. It's not like going from 65 million BC to whatever the future or whatever. It's like it's so small with some of the changes, but they're there, and I thought some of that was really brilliant.
Even on just when you first get to 600 AD, the music's different. There's cloud coverage,
there's that fog.
Yeah, you're immediately this looks like where I just was.
And it's just creepier because there's the demons and stuff, and you're not totally familiar with that because you're wait, what's going on? There's actually monsters in this world.
Yeah.
600 is my favorite time period in the whole game.
That's very true, and I think the way they do that is genius. Just visual pacing style, because you can break the game up into acts. Pretty much the game is a perfect 3-act structure, a perfect freaking story. So it's the first act pretty much ends right after the trial, and then the gate mysteriously shows up and sends you to 2300 AD.
Yeah, and the second act is the future.
Yeah, but you're immediately taken from 600 AD. The title set's a little different. It's subtle enough for me to be okay, cool. And then suddenly you're thrust into this big metal room, and you're just you immediately know as a player, you're I'm in the future now.
people are dying and shit, and they're just starving. And
oh gosh, and you go outside and
it's just
craters. Yeah, you just hear the wind, and there's skyscrapers toppled over, and you can see the insides of buildings caved out. It's this is a Super Nintendo game.
One of my favorite things ever is I absolutely think it's crazy that we haven't seen in that era. We didn't see any more of the tiny sprites in the overworld.
Yeah,
I love that so much. It also creates a sense of scale, but it reminds me of in Earthbound. The whole game is the same. You're the same scale. And then you go back in time to the prehistoric ages, and your characters are all Chrono Trigger sized sprites.
Tiny. Yeah.
And I thought that was so cool. I was that's so fucking cool.
No, that's really. I love. We could talk about this in gameplay, but I love the overworld in general. Graphic presentation wise, again. Another thing, they make them ever so smaller when they're along the world map, and then there's one scene after Lavos crashes in 65 million BC where your crew is walking down the crater, and they're just these little
they're
specks.
Just dots.
Yeah, they're these little glistening specks talking to each other while they're going down. I don't know, that part charmed me. I'm oh, that's charming. Look at these little tiny dots.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and. Another thing, just with the the visual charm in this game is almost unparalleled. I don't know that there's even a game I could possibly think of or even give you an example of that has more visual charm than Chrono Trigger. If someone came up to me, because objectively, subjectively, Chrono Trigger is not my favorite RPG. It's up there. Don't get me wrong. It's in my top, 10 probably favorite video games ever made. But, it's not my favorite RPG. But if you came up to me and you said, Robin, what are objectively the 3 best games of all time?
Yeah.
I would say, and these are not my top 3, I would say, do you want an action adventure game? Do you want an RPG, or do you want a platformer? Because let's be honest, all the other genres are stupid.
They're all just derivatives of those.
So if you were to say a platformer, I'd say Super Mario World. If you'd say an action adventure game, I'd say Link to the Past. If you said an RPG, I'd say Chrono Trigger. I think those are objectively the 3 best games ever made.
And they all happen to be.
And in my opinion, that's why how can you not say the SNES is not the best fucking console of all time?
Yeah.
Because those games are fucking flawless,
Yeah.
all 3. They're absolutely like 10 out of 10 games. Not saying that there's not like 1 or 2 little parts in there that could be changed or they're kind of like stupid, but like in the grand scheme of things. But like that being said, Super Mario World and Link to the Past are 2 of the most visually charming games of all time.
Yeah.
But I think Chrono Trigger actually gets the nod for me as the most charming visually of all time because of the artistic direction that they chose to go with Akira's work and the camera shifts. Like, can we talk about the the first time you see that crazy dread camera shift, which is in the courtroom.
Oh,
and
that's still one of my favorite pieces of like pixel work.
I want that on my wall.
I know, it's so great. And it gives a sense
chest.
It gives a sense of verticality somehow. It's 4:3.
It's this tiny
it's 4:3, but it gives this weird sense of like vertical, like upward depth, and you're just like
it's and I think a lot of it is the panning. The camera does a lot of pan work, and it's just like I can't even believe I'm saying that a Super Nintendo game had good cinematography. What does that even mean? And then the first time you go to Magus's castle is the same thing.
Oh, yeah,
it's got this big fucking dready like I said, it's got this like this early Tim Burton like Terry Gilliam-esque like dramatic
super gothic Dutch angles. Everything's kind of like
this Dutch angle gothic inspired, but it's also got this like almost comic book kind of look to it as well, like a McFarlane kind of vibe or something. So
and then like you see, but before you even go to Magus's castle, like you see it on the map, and it's just like the biggest thing you've seen so far on the map. Like so far, you're like, oh, King, like the castle of Guardia, it was pretty big, it was all right. Then you see Magus's lair, and it's just like this huge, like forest with just this like burned out center with just this gnarly castle, and you're like, oh, he's the bad guy of the game. Wink, wink.
Here's another thing. I also love that like the main villain changes multiple times, and it always feels natural, and you always feel like they're a well done villain. Yeah, we'll get into that in the story.
The rug is pulled from under you, but you never feel like cheapened. You never feel like
there's so many games where they do that and it fails.
It fails
here with Magus and Azala and Lavos and Dalton and all them. Like you're like, oh yeah, no. Dalton go to hell.
Dalton's hilarious. I hate him so much.
So
the stupid cape.
I do want to mention one thing. So you know what you were saying about Final Fantasy VI. The other thing that has a leg up on Final Fantasy VI is the animations of the characters.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, in battle, you know, most of the characters in Final Fantasy VI go, you know, in Chrono Trigger, they like walk over to the enemy and attack them physically.
And every attack
has
every
2 animations.
Has
3. Some have 3
and
because
then
some have a critical, a melee, and a if they're a ranged fighter, they have ranged and they have.
Oh yeah, then they have like the melee with ranged. Yeah, that's not even to say like the tech animations, which some of those tech animations. Like,
never get old.
What the heck, man? Like, I could watch Luminaire just on loop, just be like, "That's my nightlight."
Dude, I mean, dude, it's like, oh fuck, I'm forgetting the name of it. The best physical tech that Chrono gets, not the one he does four attacks.
God, I forgot. I always used Falcon Blow with Ayla.
I loved
the Beast.
Damn it! I can't believe I should have written down. But yeah, Chrono like flies up and he's like whooshing, and then he like teleports around, whooshing, and then he does like a big like giant attack. Like it's like That's so fucking cool,
yeah,
and especially
it's
when you do
anime
it on
cool.
when you do it on a bigger enemy and you're like attacking their head. He like teleports up to their head and is like flying all around. I'm like, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's like so
It has
anime.
that. It has that. I mean, say what you want about Kingdom Hearts, but Kingdom Hearts has that same just style for style's sake.
Mhm.
But it's when you watch it happen, you don't care about context. You're just like, that is cool.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah.
And like
You don't.
Chrono Trigger was able to do this with like severely limited.
Yeah, Devil May Cry does that kind of thing too.
Yeah.
It's just like fucking
Style
cool.
for style's sake.
It's kind of like shut up and just listen and watch it.
Yeah. Only Chrono Trigger has substance and style. So.
I could do an entire podcast just on the text in this game and how fucking cool
I know.
they all are.
We'll get that with gameplay, but my gosh, the texts are so cool.
Except for, why does our boy Frog get shortchanged and Water is so dumb? Okay, Chrono summons down a fucking lightning bolt. Luca summons a fucking circle of fire that she then hurls. Marl, is it Marley or Marl?
I switch between them, honestly.
Because I grew up with Marl. I've heard people say Marley, and Marley sounds weird. But anyways, she summons down a fucking block of ice.
Yeah, ice crystal.
And or no, she does the trail and then it crystallizes. The summoning block is like is the ice too. And then Frog, our boy Frog, he has the power of water. Okay, we could summon a waterfall or a tidal wave, but he summons a bubble.
Yeah, a bubble.
I love Frog. He's like my favorite character in that game. But like, and it's just like, okay, your bubble just popped on that enemy and it did like 1,000 damage. Are you serious?
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be like, because he's supposed to be just like this uber skilled like knight, but he unfortunately looks like a silly frog. So I think that was just
because
them
he's
being
a frog
like,
that he gets water.
Yeah, I think that was just them being like, it's like almost it's almost like an attack gameplay version of him being a frog. It's just like you don't take it seriously. You're like, it's a bubble. Oh, dang.
No,
okay.
You know what it is? Specchio's a racist. He's like everyone else. He's like he studies him. He's like, you shall receive fire. And then with the frog goes, he's a frog. Give him water.
Frog boy.
Idiot.
Let's see.
Anyways, so animation is the only thing I will put in the con category for graphics. Is that the animations they were so ambitious with this game and its animations and its battle animations and how so many of them are so different, and even the enemies, that some of the enemies battle animations take forever, especially when they're doing the same move over and over again.
Yeah.
They're just like bonk, 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 like bonking you around the screen. You're like, oh my god, I get it. You guys are ambitious and you were trying to make this super cool.
That's the same kind of flaw that like Kingdom Hearts has. You're like, okay, this is really flashy and anime cool. Can I play the game, please?
Yeah. Like especially the part that I noted is when you first fight those like all those robots when you first go to the future and you're you're trying to Robo's like, no, don't fight, don't do it, and then you inevitably have to fight those robots. They do this battle animation over and over again that just takes for fucking ever, and I'm like, oh my gosh, let's do it, let's go. Yeah, of course that's a fucking nitpick. There's another couple of enemies later on to do something similar, where they'll come down, pick you up, and then drop you over here, and then it takes forever. But that's really just to knock more on their like own cockiness after they're like, we're gonna make this so good that we're gonna make. And at the time, I'm sure those animations were like blowing people's minds. And
they didn't care if it was repetitious because you didn't see anything like that before.
But yeah, I mean,
let's see. Oh man, that part just where Zeal falls.
Oh yeah.
You see like even that tidal wave, like that tidal wave still gets me, dude. I'm just like,
it's like again, it gives you like anxiety, and it's a
freaking game. It's a freaking Super Nintendo game, and you see that you like my brain is still when I see that tidal wave coming, it's just like, oh no.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh shit!
Those people. One great thing about the UE is great, especially the DS version UE.
Oh gosh,
they
it's
did
great.
they did so much quality of life stuff
I'm
in the
sure
DS
coming
version.
from the you played, so you played
Played about
like
half.
most of it
Yeah,
on
yeah. I played
uh
well. Yeah, probably about I played 2/3 on the PSP version, or the PS1 version, which is just a port of the SNES version.
yeah, a
Um,
bad port.
yeah, it's not. It's not good. It's not good.
Comparing that to the DS version is got to be like
Well, it's
night and
incredible
day.
quality of life. Like it just,
And
and not just the loading times because the PS1 version is terrible, but just like the UE and being able to like customize the little like hotkey thing and like it was great. And there's just like in-game UE stuff, like from the SNES version. I loved the ability to toggle the
yeah,
dialogue HUD or just like the battle HUD.
mhm,
I'm so glad they had the forethought because they could have easily not thought about that, and like
mhm.
that would have been detrimental to combat because like I use that thing all the time in the middle of combat. You know, the enemies go up to the top and you're like, oh, bring it down here. Oh, they go down there, bring it up there. I mean,
Yeah,
they could have. I mean, they probably could have programmed something to like do it automatically or something, but
preferentials the way to
yeah, it
go.
was like it's like this little thing that you don't think about. You're like, oh, I'm really glad they added that.
You know, it's funny. I For the longest time, I still kept going to the menu, like like I'd hit like X and then like load into the menu and then go to save icon, and I was like, "There's a fucking I can just tap save, like I can
It's a
literally
hotkey.
just access it from the fucking screen." But I'm just like, there's yeah,
Uh,
um, but yeah, I mean, I could sit here and gush about the charm and everything and the visuals have, but
yeah.
forever.
No, the one thing the last thing I wanted to talk about, the graphics or the presentation was just like the use of just visual storytelling. Like in the beginning, this is just like one instance. This is like right in the beginning of the game. Like you can go to Luca's house before you even meet Luca. Like your mom tells you, like, oh, weren't you supposed to hang out with Luca? And you can go down to her house, and there's no one there except her poor mom. And like you,
Outlets. So fucked up.
it's so messed up. But like you immediately know who Luca is when you go to her house. Like there's like papers and books everywhere, and there's like scientific equipment just everywhere. And you talk to the mom, she's like, oh, they're always working on blah blah. And I don't know. There's so many instances of just that. Like they didn't need to have that. They didn't need to do that. But yeah, I love the visual storytelling in this
And
game.
you go to Chrono's house and you have no idea.
He's a blank slate, just like
Yeah, he's a blank slate. He has like
yeah,
the most generic room.
yeah,
Um,
pretty much.
yeah, everyone else has such character to their homes, like Frog and
Yeah,
Magus and stuff. You know, like where they live and stuff. And then like you know, and then
Chrono's like,
like
I'm a guy. Just
it's
a
like
dude.
Marl lives in a palace, and then
Yeah,
Frog lives in a cave, and Magus lives in a castle, and Luca lives in this house with like tech everywhere, and then it's like Chrono lives in a room,
lives in a room with his mom.
with a curtain manipulator.
Yeah.
I like that that's in Chrono Cross. Um, so if you're good, we want to move on to
Move
sound
on to sound,
and music and not voice.
not voice. I mean, for honestly, of all the sections of this review, sound and music has to be one of the like the shortest ones because it's like, what else can you say about this soundtrack? Like, honestly, like,
I mean, the soundtrack is amazing. The sound design is like, it's good.
it's okay.
It's okay. There's
okay.
a lot of annoying sounds in the game that they use a lot, like
The
the boom thing where like an enemy runs into you like in battle. Boom, boom.
I like that noise.
God,
The menu select noise, it drives me crazy.
blink, blink, blink.
It's it has like a certain like pitch or frequency, like it legitimately like makes me like angry. It's just like, oh
doesn't affect me.
yeah, I really hate. I mean, maybe it's the mixing. You know, it was just too loud.
What gets me is because I use Frog again. I'm gonna mash on the bubble. the sound effect of the bubble as well also just drives me fucking crazy. It's like every time, it's like that bubble takes so long to do.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my god, like everyone else's is just like fire, and it's like,
but generally the sound effects are good. Like they're crunchy. They're very.
Yeah, I love this.
Like,
I love the critical hit sound effect.
Yes, it's very satisfying.
It just does that fucking.
It's so satisfying.
It makes
me
like
boner. It's like when you hear it. You don't even have to see it. You're like,
I got it.
Did some good damage there, boy.
I hope Ghost of Tsushima has that exact sound design, and it sounds really out of place. Just 16-bit. Anyways, the music is great.
Yeah, like it's like going through and listening to all the music playing the game. Like you can definitely tell which tracks are Uematsu and which are Mitsuda. Like you can.
Mitsuda is so obviously the like more like epic, like what would we call them, like the more melodic tracks.
Yeah,
it's and of course Mitsuda is
he's so good with like putting emotion into his songs. Like you hear a song of his.
Mitsuda's the one that said he used his songs from his dreams, right?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it's Mitsuda. He's for Chrono Trigger. He said he actually used songs that he had in his dreams,
which is really funny because that's like a theme of the entire work,
yeah.
And plus that's like the name of the production team. This game is like a perfect storm of everything, man.
It really is. It's so many different amazing things. Like when I tell someone that doesn't know about Chrono Trigger, I don't even know when to stop talking. I have to like breathe. And I'm like, it's the guy from Dragon Ball Z, and then the guy from Final Fantasy, and the guy from Zelda, and then the guy from over here, and then there's the Dragon Quest team, and then, but like, yeah, the music is so good. With the highlights being, did Mitsuda do Quarters of Time?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
okay. He did Corridors, and he did Frog's theme, and he did
almost all. He did almost all of them.
Yeah,
pretty much. Like he was going to leave Square if they didn't give him a chance, basically. And then they're like, okay, like under the tutelage of Uematsu, you can do this really important Dream Team game. And, he blew it out of the water.
And it really was a Dream Team. Like it just there's so much happenstance that just works so well with this game. Which is why, again, like a game like Chrono Cross didn't really need to exist, but it's just more so like this was obviously such a one-off type thing, and it has this perfect endings. And that's another thing that just like this team, it's so clear that like this team they oozed quality, and they were probably done with this project so far ahead of schedule. Then that's where all this other stuff came in. But we're strictly talking music. And I want to bring up one track that I hadn't, because you don't hear it throughout the game nearly as often as you do like Frog's theme or Marl's theme or Quarters of Time or the main theme or the Overworld. I was texting you a little bit about it today, but it's the second. Yeah, it's the second form of Lavos. And that's also just got Mitsuda's fucking fingerprints all over it. But not only is it so epic, but to me, it's this perfect, like the whole thing. Because what's even more perfect about it is it's this middle part of this epic battle, right? Mm-hmm. It's the fucking, you're in it. Like you're in it. It's also the most epic part. It's the most epic part of that whole battle, because the first part is this really tense thing, and then the second part is this really just good versus evil, and it's just this huge thing, and you're fighting this, like they're like, oh my god, he's taking the DNA from every fucking creature, and he's just this fucking super beast, and you're just like fighting, and then and this song kicks in, and it's so damn, I can't think of a fucking word. It's so like schizophrenic. The song itself is schizophrenic in the way that it's constantly wrestling with the evil and the good, and the theme in that song is so fucking badass because it's just like it's like dark as shit. It's like and it's almost like it's like the whole song is wrestling with the good versus the evil and these
that's a good gameplay story integration, because like you're I mean the whole like I text you is like the whole you're in the end of the game when you're fighting against Lavos, like it's like you and all the dreams of the planet are fighting against this nightmare that's Lavos, and like the song is like a mix between Lavos's theme and then a mix between Chrono's theme, and it just it goes back and forth, and it has this like weird melding. It's a great song. Like I that song is awesome.
And then the part like after the really awesome main melody is in, and that it's like there's that dissonant organ, and then that really badass main melody, and then you're like, this is a badass song, and then it does that thing where it even throws in, like you said, like the main theme, it throws in that and you think that it's gonna do more of the main theme than it does. It just does like one little thing, and it's almost like it's like Chrono and Lavos fighting. It's like it's like it's so fucking dark and like hopeful and dark.
You don't think it would work, but it does.
What the fuck, dude? That track is so fucking cool, man.
Can we talk about Lavos' scream? One of the most terrifying things. Like I was listening to the Final Form theme song with like headphones on, and like that's a great one too. Like 2 minutes in, like Lavos just screeches, and he's
he's in the track.
That's terrifying.
Well, because there's the initial Lavos screech, like that you hear all the time when you go to
the battle starts,
and then there's that one that's in the track
perfectly.
It kind of startles you. You're like, what happened? What is going on? And you're like, oh, it's part of the track. He just screamed. And that third track's already unsettling because you've gotten to the point where he is this weird, creepy, decrepit space alien man, and he's kind of got this. He has this like helmet and like exploration gear on, but he's like all fucking. He's like zombified. And it almost reminds me of the face of Gigas in Earthbound, because he kind of doesn't have a face, but he does. It's just like this.
It always reminded me of the petrified pilot from Alien.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. The guy.
I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for.
Probably what they're going for,
like design wise, like inspiration wise.
And so it's already like you're at this unsettling part because, like I said, the middle part is like. You're no longer fighting the beastly Lavos. You're fighting like Lavos Prime. You're fighting the super powered, like the super villain Lavos.
Yeah.
And that's why that theme is so cool. And then once you're at the end, you're fighting horror Lavos, and you're fighting like zombie Lavos. And so like everything's all like synthesized and weird and like uncomfortable. And it's like, oh man, god damn it. Just amazing. And then the end theme. It makes me want to like cry.
To faraway times, like that final part. Oh my gosh. This, it's so inspirational, and like you feel, especially when you've like gone through the whole journey, when you play through the game and you hear.
That one feels like it could have been an Uematsu track, but I don't know. Yeah. Is that could have been a new Uematsu track, but I don't know. Could have been both. They probably worked on they both worked on certain songs, I'm sure.
Maybe, yeah, but I'm pretty sure it was like pretty much like 70% Uematsu, 30%, or other way around, 70% Mitsuda.
One thing I can say about the music that's a negative, it's not really a negative, because of the quality of the game, the quality of most of the tracks. For some reason, I almost wish, and this is just, again, like, this is such a nitpicky, stupid thing, but, like, I almost wish...
Hey, we're here to review.
I almost wish the main battle theme was a little stronger. It's fine.
It is. It's catchy. I really like it, but
it doesn't get me going. It doesn't like. I'm not like.
Yeah, I feel like the normal fight theme just feels like a brisk jog.
Yeah,
and like the boss theme is great because it feels like you're like running. You know?
Yeah, I almost feel like the main boss theme should have been like the. But then there's certain themes like when you're fighting Magus, which is like a totally different song. It's so super fucking dark and it's really cool. Yeah, like I just wish there was a little more energy in the main battle song,
or more like varied. Maybe if they were like two, maybe three different standard battle themes.
It would have been super cool. And I know again, this is just like. Whatever. We're at a point we're reviewing a 10 out of 10 video game. I don't know what else to tell you guys. It would have been really cool if the battle theme changed subtly through every time period.
Yeah.
So if it like in the medieval like time, it had like a more like bardish kind of vibe or like Celtic vibe, and then like in the prehistoric it had like a tribal vibe, and then in the future it had like a synth, like a more of a synthy vibe. That would have been so fucking cool. Of course, that's ridiculous. So
no, that's super cool. I mean, it's not like there's not enough tracks in this game. There's like 60, 70 songs in this game.
Not enough, man.
Not enough.
Bullshit. This song's only good.
This song's only really good. It's not amazing.
And it's like one song in the whole game of songs that are amazing. Some of my favorite songs of all time, like Frog's theme, I can watch Frog cut the mountain like over and over again. Pretty sure there's just not enough times I can watch that happen.
You know that scene's really great when like you watch the anime version, you're like, meh. Let's get back to the 16-bit version.
Yeah, the remix of that song is definitely not nearly as strong as the original. Which is kind of funny because that song sounds like it would benefit from a real like cool remix, but like it's just because it's so the flute.
It's the game
so
uses
upfront.
Yeah, it uses really like the instrumentation in the game. I think that's a really strong point because, I mean, Mitsuda's really melody heavy, and I don't know. You could easily mess that up with like bad instrumentation. Like as much as I love Chrono Cross's music, the main battle theme,
it's not great.
It suffers from bad instrumentation. I feel like it's not a bad song. Like dun dun dun. Like, it's interesting and it's weird. Okay, but like I feel like the mixing and the instrumentation. I'm like, this just sounds off. I don't know. But Chrono Trigger, it's like almost like across the board. Like
it sounds like it would have been good for a good like weird boss fight or something, or like a side quest or something. But yeah, for the main battle theme, it is kind of strange in Chrono Cross. At least Chrono Trigger's main battle theme is comfortable to listen to.
Yeah. It's just not super exciting. It's just good. It's like a brief jog. Like
it almost reminds me, and that that theme, the Chrono Trigger's battle theme, and the final fight with Lavos, the final form, both remind me of songs that could be in Super Metroid.
Yeah,
both of those tracks, for some reason, even though that one's a battle theme, it sounds like it could just be like a Super Metroid world, where because it's just like it's got that it's just doing that kind of like I don't know. It almost has like a more ambient feel to it. That's like it's weird that it's a battle theme, but it's awesome. So whatever, it's still good. It's fine.
Super music.
Again, so good.
Not much else to say. It's awesome music.
One of the best soundtracks of all
time. You know what? If you like music, forego playing the game and just go on YouTube and listen to the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Just in the review right now. All right, on to gameplay.
I think the gameplay is terrible. It's all bad. What do you think?
It's all bad. Frog out of 10. And I don't mean Frog the character, I mean an actual frog.
No, I love everything about the graphics, the game, and the music, and the presentation. The gameplay is garbage.
What? Are you sure you didn't play Radical Dreamers?
I haven't played. I really want to play Radical Dreamers, but I don't think I ever will.
Watch it on YouTube. It's like 2
Watch
hours.
it.
Watch it on
Um,
YouTube. I mean, oh my gosh, gameplay. I loved. Speaking of like not having to, like how I like to make the distinction between like leveling and grinding. Like grinding is leveling that you don't like doing.
Mm-hmm.
I never did not enjoy fighting in this game.
Yeah, same.
Like,
I loved. This is my favorite simple RPG combat system. I think there's some combat systems that are more complex, but just the layout of it makes every fight feel different because you're laid out differently. Yeah. Everything's always laid out differently, and you have different moves that like can attack. Like if two enemies are near each other, you can do Cyclone or whatever.
No, yeah, it's like a positional active time battle. Like
to me, the programming that would have gone into making this battle system had to be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah,
because it's adaptive to every situation, and so the creatures have to like go somewhere, and that's why like random battles are a thing because you would be in this complex environment in Final Fantasy VI or you know whatever, and then the game goes and then puts you in a generic, you know, like
here's you're in another dimension basically. You're like,
here's a mountain background because you're in the mountains. Here's a mountain in the background. Like, it's like
again, Final Fantasy uses abstraction. Like you're supposed to just kind of abstract that you're in the same area, but with Chrono Trigger, it's like same tile set. Like there's no loading. You walk into an enemy. Now you're fighting.
It also makes the active time battles feel more realistically active versus like something like Final Fantasy VII, where you're just kind of getting. To me, like I always put Final Fantasy VII on wait because I'm like, and I'm be honest, I put Chrono Trigger on wait too, but like I would be more okay with putting that on active because it feels it's like almost Chrono Trigger is almost like a middle ground between Final Fantasy and Zelda. It's like
I agree. I think it's like the perfect meeting ground between like an actual active battle system.
I guess because like more like Secret of Mana and Final Fantasy.
Yeah, like technically like Final Fantasy IV and onwards, they use that was the birth of the active time battle.
Is it?
Yeah, it was in Final Fantasy IV.
Damn, I'm stupid.
Yeah, you are. And
I just never use ATB. Like I always do wait, so like I just can't remember like which one.
Well, I mean, ATB is like you wait for the bar to go so you can have a turn. That's what ATB means.
Oh, I mean, okay, so I guess I mean the ones where the enemies will attack you if you don't use.
Well, that's how it's default. That's like the default ATB mode, but there's a wait ATB mode.
And so I always choose wait. And it's so funny because like if you don't go into a menu, they'll attack you. But if you just like go into a menu, it's like
yeah. But like with Chrono Trigger, it took that ATB system, which again, Final Fantasy is all about abstraction because you're on this line, like your guys are on this line and the bad guys are on this line. But with Chrono Trigger, again, with like the dynamic positioning, which we'll get into with like the text, but like it adds so much more depth of strategy in it because it's not just I need to wait for my bar to fill up so I can do this attack, but instead it's like I can do this attack, but should I wait for that?
Should I wait for my bro?
Should I wait for him to come up? Should I wait for the enemy to get closer to his friend? Like I don't know. It's just like it's such a great battle system. It's so simple. It really is like the perfect. It's a perfect mix between an action RPG and a turn-based RPG because it has like that positional strategy like an action RPG does. But yeah, it's still turn-based. Like you still take your turn.
It's man, and it's so funny how few Chrono Trigger clones we've actually gotten.
Yeah,
we have a million Final Fantasy clones. We have a million Zelda clones, but we have like no Chrono Trigger clones. I'm like, where the fuck are the
the only ones I can think of are like the
Cosmic Star Heroine's like one of the few ones I can think of.
The ones that were made by that one Square.
Even Chrono Cross is not a Chrono Trigger clone. It's like,
But what's that one? I am Setsuna and
I'm Setsuna and
Lost
Earthlock.
Sphere.
There's Lost Sphere and then the Earthlock is another one, I think.
But yeah, they kind of use that same kind of positional kind of gameplay. It's not nearly as
I would say I am Setsuna and Cosmic Star Heroine. Cosmic Star Heroine is the most Chrono Trigger game as far as combat goes that I've ever played.
I really hated I am Setsuna.
I thought you liked that game. I never bought it because it looked depressing to me.
I liked first I liked the idea of it, and I played through about half of it, and I'm like, no, I hate this game. It's
I didn't like when someone told me like the whole game was just like piano music. I was like, it's an RPG. I want like something like.
That's one of the problems. But yes, yeah, it's so weird because it's such a they hit that sweet spot of action turn-based, but no one's tried to even.
I mean, I guess it's just once it's perfected, no one wants to fuck with it. I don't know.
And it's so weird because I mean, Chrono Trigger is just lauded as like one of the best, if not the best, Japanese role-playing game. Yet no one's tried to mimic the good parts of it.
I mean, if you Google is Chrono Trigger and then you let Google fill in the rest, the first thing that comes up is Chrono Trigger the best video game of all time?
Yes.
So it's like literally like people are like, is it the best one? Like, it's like, yeah, it's like, is it the best RPG of all time? Is it the best game of all time? And then is Chrono Trigger good?
Is Chrono Trigger good?
Why are you Googling the last one when you have already clearly seen the first two filled in?
No, but they want to know if it's just okay.
Is it just fine?
It's good. It's good.
Does it hold up? And that's kind of another thing is this combat system just holds up so much better to me than Final Fantasy's ATB stuff. I don't know why. I think it's because it's the variety.
There's more variety. It's more dynamic. Like every fight, even within the same area, could play out differently.
Also, fights just don't last that long.
Yeah, it's true.
There's even bosses they just don't like. Either they wipe the floor with you really, really fast, and you realize that you're under level, or you kind of struggle for a little while and you heal. It also, man, it's got that perfect difficulty. In my opinion,
I never had to level up, except
no.
At the end, I did a little leveling just to like push through the extra content.
Well,
but I never was like, oh, this boss is really hard. I better go level up. It was always like, this boss beat my ass. Let me go rethink my strategy. And I came back.
Yeah. Sometimes I would come back and just use a different strategy. Like a boss is fucking me up with status effects. So then I equip a bunch of shit that staves off status effects, and or just naturally the game's like, you could go fight Lavos now, but there's a bunch of things that could be done, and you're basically like, each one of these guys has a side quest for it. Yeah. If you want to go do it, like, I encourage you to do it. And basically what they're doing is they're saying, hey, go grind it a little bit, but we're going to make that interesting by making it part of the story. And instead of them being generic side quests, they're like, so good.
We'll get into that with story, but they reward you. It's so funny because we don't want to talk too much about story, but in a game that's so light on story, I mean, light's not the right word, but so focused with its story, like the end game is like the only the rewards you get for doing that is more story stuff. But can we talk about how amazing or how astonishing that the open world map has no, like, first of all, there's no random encounters in the world map, which every RPG should do this.
Yes.
Every RPG should do this.
It makes it so much more relaxing to explore.
Yeah, and you know what? They thought ahead. The designers are so good because they could have just made them Final Fantasy sized and took out enemies, but that would have been super dumb because it would have just been long swaths of you walking with nothing happening. But
they made it
smaller. They made the world smaller and then you smaller, It's genius.
But then when you're like,
genius.
well, this is a relatively small game, but then when you go through time, you realize that the map is
There's
big,
like
but it's like the
there's five
same map
maps.
over and over again,
Yeah.
but it's so different.
Yeah.
And it's just it's incredible. Like you said, this game was so ahead of its time in so many ways that it's hard to even like keep up with it. Because like the battle system, the non-random encounters, the fact that there's no enemies on the overworld.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
I fucking love that so much.
So
The
nice.
fact that, but it's one of those
so
things
nice.
too where I love when you like leave an area, go back to the overworld, you can go back into a place and the enemies respawn. So if you want to fucking grind a little bit, you can.
Yeah.
But it's never a slog to get through enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And some I have a little bit of a quibble with some things, but it's just because of the game's age. Because so much of this game is so forward thinking that some of the weird flaws that would be fine and normal, other RPGs from this time period, but because this one had so much, like thought so forward, that there's the couple of decisions where I'm like, oh, man, like the one thing, like I hate that the Middle Ages has one fast travel point or one wormhole or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's like, why? And every time you have to fight that one fucking bird and that one other guy. And it's like every time you can't avoid that fight. Like most fights you can walk around.
I know.
Like,
and they're always trash too. It's like, get out of the way. Get out of the way.
Yeah, it's like why didn't they just, I mean, to a certain point, I'm almost like, and I get it, of course, that's the JRPG thing. You at that time you eventually get the airship that you can, fly around in, and it's
but
fine.
that's another thing, like visible enemies on the battlefield. Like that should be a standard thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like the fact that almost if you practice and you know where to go, you can avoid like 99% of battles in this game.
Yeah,
like,
unless it's like bottlenecked.
Yeah,
travel,
like,
and you just there you can't.
Yeah,
like the beginning of the prehistoric area is one that I think of. You can't really avoid a lot of those enemies because they're just right in front of you. But like, and then there's that one in medieval. But what's weird, I just can't believe that they didn't add another travel place. You're going to the medieval ages all the fucking time in this game. You're constantly traveling back and forth trying to find the
But the thing is, like, there's a way to avoid that battle, though. That's what I'm saying. Like,
not that one.
No, there's a way. No, I've seen like people speedrun this game, and like there are tiny little, because it's all based on like.
I mean, I guess there's maybe like some weird frame or tile that I can.
Yeah, because it's all based on like event tiles, like event triggers. So if you know exactly where to go, you can just.
But at that point, I might as well just do the damn battle, because I don't.
Well, what I'm saying is like the game. They didn't have to do that design wise. Like behind the scenes, they could have just made every battle you can't avoid. But even with something like that, like if you wanted to because I mean the game, again, we'll get to New Game Plus, but the game promotes you replaying stuff, so it almost promotes you. It provokes you to try different things and like, hey, I wonder if I could avoid this guy. Oh, I can! Wow, I didn't know I could do that. Like,
but also on a plus side of that, the fact that the maps are also small, it makes that lack of fast travel in the beginning. So many RPGs, it's like, oh my god, like, that thing is so far away. But this game isn't on a worldly map. It's on like these.
Yeah,
these
it's not on a horizontal.
They're layered.
They're all layered vertically.
They're all layered on top of each other. So. It doesn't feel like you ever have to walk too far to get back to what you need to do or something if you missed a chest or something like that. I do have to say there's a part in the game where you climb a mountain called Death Peak, and there's a tree at the beginning that you're supposed to hide behind. There's 2 trees, and it is extremely short section. I mean, if you do it right, it's maybe like 2 minutes of your time. But God, the framing, because that game is not meant to be... The controls aren't meant for you to hide behind a pixel of a tree that's as big as you are, because your character will kind of roll around the sides of the trees.
No.
And this wind blows you back if you don't, and you're just all the way back to the beginning.
No, my biggest gameplay problems, with this game all stem from the mini games. I don't like when JRPGs and RPGs put mini games. Like Final Fantasy VII, I love Final Fantasy VII, but there's so many mini games. And with Chrono Trigger, there's not a lot, like, but they're all kind of annoying. Like chasing the rat, super freaking annoying. Like
that didn't bother me.
Like Racing Johnny.
That one's so dumb.
Racing Johnny.
That could have been a cool F-Zero.
I know. I remember as a kid, I really liked it because of F-Zero. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's F-Zero in my RPG.
But it's not a real race because all you're doing is going.
It's just rubber banding. It's just that over and over.
It was It was so dumb. It should have been a real race.
And getting to Death Peak. This was my most annoyed part of my entire playthrough. Getting those freaking clone dolls, because I didn't have any silver points, so I had to go fight Gato a couple of times to get some points, and then I had to go back to the stupid thing, and then I failed the first 2 times doing that, so I had to go back to Gato, and I'm just like, wow.
The fucking is he surprised? Is he laughing? Is he raising his
couldn't they have done something like cool for me to get the freaking clone dolls? Like, why do I have to do these dumb mini games? I don't know. I got really frustrated with that thing because I hated having to I failed because I kept failing because I was playing on the PSP at that point, and I just kept failing because the controls are garbage on the PSP, and I'm just I have to go fight Gato 2 or 3 more times to get, and it costs 40 freaking 40. I think it costs 30 or 40 coins. 40. I'm just like, for every try, that's literally the biggest problem I had with this game. But the thing is, it's totally optional. You can just leave Chrono to die.
You can leave Chrono dead.
Amazing.
If you're a monster.
How ballsy though! Think about that. That's ballsy.
Dude, and that's another thing. This is also the first game where you can just fight the final boss after the first few hours of the game. Once you get into the end of time, you can just you can fight the fucking boss.
And if it's a new game plus,
you get new game plus, you can fight the boss from the very beginning.
Yeah,
and that's when you get the true ending. Not really. It's a weird ending, but and then the other couple of things. So I wrote down Death Peak. Come on, LOL, because what happened was. So you go through the tree part, and once it's blowing you back. That's the only part of the whole game. I was just like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, what the hell? This is so stupid." And I think I had the problem you did with the other thing with this.
Oh no, I had the same problem with the wind too. It took me 10 minutes to.
And again, like you said, it's like some weird mini game, but it's not even. It's not even enough of a mini game to be there. It's just let me fucking walk up the peak. Why? This game's already perfect. What are you doing? You don't need to do this. And then once I got up to Death Peak, and then I fought one of those Lavos larvae, and I forgot, because you know what I do. My go-to thing when I'm going through an area is use Lightning 2 because this is before I had Luminaire, and I don't remember, whatever. It was either Lightning 2 or Luminaire, and no, I didn't have Chrono, so I didn't do that. I had Magus and whoever I had. I used a screen clearing attack. And what I didn't know at the fucking time was, you attack the shell of the lava larva, they fucking go ballistic on you. Mm-hmm. And my entire party got wiped out before I even really knew what was happening. And then I just started over again. I had to do the fucking tree part again. I was like, "You're fucking kidding me!" Yeah. I couldn't believe how fucking frustrated I was. And I was like, this is a game filled with non-frustration and filled with so much
lean. So many... It's like eating the super lean, amazingly cooked steak, and then kind of near the end of the steak,
chewy part. Just
you have this weird piece of gristle near the end. You're like, you push it to the side.
It's still the best steak I've ever had, but what the fuck, man?
What was up with that gristle?
And so So then that kind of led me to the part where you kill the Lavos, because you fight 3 more of them, and the third one dies, but its shell's still there, and you have to push it against a wall somewhere. But I guess I was playing on the DS, and it was late. My contacts were kind of fogging up, and so I couldn't tell exactly where they wanted me to push this thing to.
Yeah, they don't make it easy.
Where to climb up. So I was just kind of pushing it to everything, and the way that you don't really know if you're pushing it, or you kind of go through it, and then it's just kind of sloppily put together
through it, and they could have once you pushed it to the right area, they could have made a noise ding, and then it would have stopped moving.
Yeah. They literally the noise that it makes when you hit the right fire thing when you're fighting the soul, the SOL, the sunstone, with that noise. That noise, just give me that fucking noise that you already have in the game for when I put it in the right spot. Because I was just pushing it everywhere, and there's not a lot of places. Eventually, you're going to get it right. But it just felt like I kept climbing up the thing, and then like clipping through it, and then like going through it. And I was like, am I pushing it backwards? And I'm pushing it sideways, and it just felt so like, why is this here? Like, it should have just taken it out and let me climb up the mountain. And I don't understand. It felt dumb.
That was super dumb. Like Death Peak was definitely my least favorite dungeon in the game, apart from Lost Sanctum, which is garbage. But
apart
again,
from
the Lost Sanctum, which is garbage,
but which is kind of like not really.
But I mean, I don't want like. I want to pull it technically. That was a side quest.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but I hate you.
I know. That's why I said it in that voice.
Technically, the whole damn game's a side quest.
No.
Because
after you get the Chrono Trigger, the game is a side quest. Basically, the rest of the game is a side quest.
I also wrote down Ocean Palace isn't great. It's a little long. It's not like the worst thing in the world, but it's just kind of like, okay. Yeah. And then
the elevator scenes, I was like, all right, hurry up with the freaking elevators, guys. Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Anytime, and of course when you go back into the fucking Black Omen, and then you're riding the elevator down again, and then you do the elevator sequence all over again.
Oh yay! Thanks.
Oh god, thank you. Thank God I'm doing this again. Yeah, I actually didn't finish Black Omen this time. I got halfway through, and the two news are like, "You want to like get out of here?" And I'm like, "Yep." I don't want. That was the only side quest I didn't complete. Again, I've done it before. I was like, this isn't doing anything for me.
The Black Omen has some really cool lore stuff though.
I'm gonna go back and do it. But I wanted to fight Lavos and get it over with because
well, speaking of Black Omen, this also they use the same time twisties with the sealed chests. I love that you can beat Black Omen in 2300, and then and then beat it in
you can beat 1, it in three different.
But if you do it backwards chronologically, you can do it. But if you beat it in 600 or if you beat it in 1200, it'll erase from the forward. It's just like little things like that. Like,
that's brilliant. It's still brilliant.
It's brilliant because it's in the simplicity of it. You're like, well, duh.
Like, yeah, and to kind of go with what you're talking about with the chests. For those of you that don't know, if you there's these sealed chests that are very mysterious. You can't open until a certain point in the story, and then once you get this item, you can go back and open all these chests. But if you just open them when you find them, you get a good item. But what's crazy is if you try to open them in the past, like in the medieval ages, and then go into
you can power it up time with the amulet.
Basically, you're using the amulet to power up the chest, and so over time, that chest has been so powered that you get the upgraded version of that thing. So it becomes like, instead of a vest, it turns into a plate. Like an actual plate of armor, which is fucking cool. Really cool thing. Anyways, those are also all in Chrono Cross.
The way the enemies use terrain and the environment to like engage in combat, I also found really charming.
Some of the like just ideas behind the enemies is just like so crazy. Like one of my favorites is towards the end. I believe it's in the Black Omen, where you're fighting these little like two-headed hydras. Yeah, they're not hydras because they're
they're basically.
And like if you mortally wound one of them, it will like turn around and bite the other one and take all of its life force, and the other one will die. And I was like, that is so little detail. Cool. What the hell is that?
No, they did a really good job. Really good job. That's why I didn't know whether to put this note in presentation and gameplay, because this game uses like gameplay narrative like fusion super well, because like stuff like that, or like you quietly sneaking by a sleeping enemy, and then another one sees you up ahead and throws a rock at the one you just passed and wakes them up. Like just little things that make you go like oh, that's charming. They didn't have to do that.
Speaking of, so I'm this is pretty much my last problem with
just
my last problem with gameplay. I just I have to nitpick,
Oh yeah. Hey, you remember this is critical beard. Critical.
Yeah. If you didn't want to get critical, you shouldn't come here.
Yeah.
You're gonna put on trial, sir.
I got a beard kind of too.
I'm standing on the guilty side right now.
Doesn't matter.
So here is actually my biggest, just sort of like what the fuck design choice other than Death Peak, which is when you're aboard the Blackbird. So this whole thing is really well put together and really cool because it's basically Metal Gear Trigger, and and it's so cool. It's a cool idea, and the whole thing is pretty fun, unless you just because I had Isla in my team, so I was just like.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just gonna fucking kill everybody.
Like I don't need weapons.
I actually just had her randomly in my team. I forgot about that sequence, but I was just like, oh well. And I was going around and I was like, oh yeah, this part is fucking cool. I forgot about this, and this like fucking crawling through the vents and stuff. But the thing you need to do to trigger the cinematic event is so fucking obtuse and weird.
You mean like going down to the
you have to go down to the very bottom left part of the wing while wind is blowing you off.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that.
Super counterintuitive. Yeah.
It's
totally agree.
Again, it's just like the tree part. It's like what? Like because the whole rest of the game is so perfectly crafted and it's so easy, like, it's so good at like visual cues on where to go and like little comments from NPCs and stuff. The only thing you get is you see homeboy with your Epoch, and he's like, I'm here in this room, and you're like, okay, how the fuck do I get to that room? And it's like, oh, you got to go out on the wing, and I'm like, what? I've been out on the fucking wing. I killed all those damn turrets and shit. What do you want me to do? And it's like, well, you got to go all the way to the left and get to the bottom, and then it'll trigger a boss fight with the golem. And I'm like, what? What does that even mean? Like, why is a golem hanging out on the wing?
It's really
why is there a boss fight on the wing? I don't know. What should have happened is when you went out on the wing, there shouldn't have been any turrets. It should have just been blowing, and it should have triggered a boss fight.
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
I don't understand. That is the most obtuse part. At least with the trees, you knew what you were supposed to do. It was just frustrating. Yeah. Whereas this is just like, I feel like as a kid, I remember like being stuck there for a really long time because I had no idea what I was supposed to do. Especially because if the wind is blowing you off, it doesn't make you want to explore because you're like, okay, I don't see anything here. I need to go away because I've done everything that needs to be done. I didn't, I don't know. That part's crazy. I can't believe that wasn't. It's still there. That's so fucking weird. Yeah. Anyways, that's the last negative thing I have to say. Really.
Note-wise for gameplay, one problem I had, I guess this is another like presentation problem / gameplay problem. More of a presentation problem. I should have put this in my presentation notes, but it's cool that some areas have like layered weather effects. It's cool, like when you're in 23 AD and it's like the smoky fog. But when you get in a fight in these layered weather effect areas, in certain techs and certain attacks will just make that layered effect just disappear.
Go away. Yeah. That actually, you know what? I totally forgot to put that in my content.
Yeah. It's not a big deal. It's a little detracting though. Like just visually, because you're getting like these moods from these layered effects, and then it's just like they disappear, and then you do the tech, and then they go back up.
Yeah, the first time that happened to me, I think I was Magus, and I started doing attack, and then everything cleared, and the screen was just like really clear for a second when I did the move, and then it went. And I was like, what? And then it went back to
happened. Yeah. Yeah,
It's like, what?
It's a visual nitpick. It's probably just because like memory limitations on the Super Nintendo.
Definitely.
But it's still when it happened, I was like, yeah.
It definitely can't handle you doing Luminaire at the same time when there's like this like intense fog or whatever. But like, still, yeah, it was kind of, again, it's one of those things in a 8 out of 10 game or a 7 out of 10 game, you'd be like, okay, but like because this is a 10 out of 10 perfect, like even and
this is
again,
an epoch out of 10, man.
That's the thing, and I want people to understand that when I say 10 out of 10, when I say like perfect, I don't mean like a game is perfect, because clearly it's not. We're literally listing things we don't like about it. But to me, that means it's a timeless masterpiece that should be played by every single person. And I can't think of anyone this game shouldn't be played by unless you just fucking hate video games or hate time travel because you're...
Unlike Ocarina of Time, no one should play that game.
And that's coming from a guy who's actually not that big of a fan of Back to the Future. So...
I really like Back to the Future.
Of course, everyone does. I don't like it. I'm not that big of a fan of it, and Chrono Trigger is amazing. So go ahead.
Chrono Trigger handles time travel. We'll get that when we get the story, but I think Chrono Trigger handles time travel the best in any media I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
my last note, was maybe one other note, but the way another gameplay narrative fusion. Most RPGs, they either don't even try to explain this, or they do a really bad job. Like Final Fantasy VII, for instance, they'll be like, "Oh, only 3 of us can travel on the world map because it's pretty dangerous to travel in crowds."
Mm-hmm.
Dumb as hell. In Chrono Trigger, they're like, "It's BS," but at least they try to explain in lore, like the conservation of time, where like if more than three people travel in time, one of them, or everything that's not, 4 people go, one of them is going to be sent to the end of time. It's just like a really elegant, like,
yeah.
Like, I know you just made that up, but that's really smart.
I actually have a comment on that. One thing I love in this game that I've never seen them do in another game, another RPG, where your party members are all hanging out at your little hideout, your little end of time,
your hub,
and when you talk to them, they literally get fucking bummed out if you don't take them with you.
Yeah.
And most other RPGs, it's like they want to be like chill about it. So it's just like, hey, you're gonna take me with you, and you're like, oh, that's cool, But like, Ayla's like, I'm bored, take me with you, and you're like, no. She's like, God, sit here again. Like,
I never take Marl, and she's like, oh, okay. I'm like, but I feel bad because it's like canon wise, like they're supposed to get married, so it's like, oh, like. Maybe we should hang out with Marl more.
Kind of shit on your girlfriend that whole game because she's just not in my party.
Well, if you look at her father, it makes sense that she would be into those assholes,
Yeah, he's dead. You killed mom.
You killed mom. Actually, she was the jerk in that scene. It's just like, dang, Marl, that's uncalled for, dude.
Yeah, because it's like he didn't.
No.
He emotionally murdered her.
I guess my last note. This is just a random note about random note. Like the guru of life, Melchior, helps the party in a purely mechanical gameplay sense. So he gives new gear. Yeah. He gives the Masamune. He gives like tangible things you can go on the field and use. Guru of time, Gaspar, helps from just the lore perspective. Like you go to him and he'll give you plot hooks. He'll give you hints on where to go next.
Literally tells you the side quests at the end. And if you've completed them, he won't mention them. I like that so much that once you can, like, I would go to him for my checklist because he'd be like, oh, there's stuff you need to do at the end of time. And when you first talk to him, he's like, there's this chick over here who needs this. There's this chick over here who grew a forest or whatever. And then there's this person over here, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, once you've done a lot of them, he's like, okay, so there's still this one guy.
Yeah, he's like a quest tracker,
which is cool because that's
then the Guru of Reason, Baldassar. He's kind of both because he gives you the epoch. He gives you a piece of gear that allows the story to expand. So I don't know. It's just like a funny thing I noticed. So it was like each of the gurus kind of, one was lore, one was gear, one was lore gear. I don't know.
Lore gear.
It's just an interesting. Interesting.
Did you turn him on, or did you turn him off?
Did I turn him off?
Balthazar.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, one more awesome note. Well, first of all, being able to fight and kill Magus is awesome. But if he joins your party, he doesn't learn any double or triple text, which is awesome because he's like, I don't give a flip about you guys, so I'm not gonna play with.
They don't really give a shit about him. They just want his power, like his power.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then plus, like, in most RPGs where you have this villain that you've been fighting against, and then he gets in your party, and then for some reason he's like
your best
weaker,
friend.
or like he's like somehow he's weaker than he was.
Yeah.
But in Chrono Trigger, it explains that in lore, because before you all get sent out, before at the point where either Lavos, I don't think it was Lavos, I think it was the entity that opened those portals and kind of sent everyone everywhere.
Oh yeah, he was
Lavos drained Magus's power, so it's like if you do recruit Magus, he's a lot weaker because he just got his power drained. I don't know.
Yeah,
like it's just like little like. It's like, oh, they didn't need to do that. This game is full of like, they didn't need to do that, but
no, yeah, exactly, and it almost to a detriment, because you're like, okay, you really didn't need to do that.
I don't think it's a detriment. I think it's
I'm just saying some of the like extra like you said, the mini game is shit that they. You could have just climbed straight up a wall, but they had to like. It's like, come on. I'm rarely pro mini game in a game. It's like, I'm playing a game, dude. I'm already.
Why do I want to play a game in a game? I'm not an idiot. Right. So anything left for gameplay? I think that's pretty.
I have so many pros that it's like I have to like keep track of everything. So no, let's move on to the story.
This is the big one. Actually, this is a really big one. It's funny because it's such a story light game, but I have tons of story notes because it does such a good job.
To me, it feels like Chrono Trigger really does feel to me a lot. It reminds me a lot of like Xenoblade Chronicles, not because of like not because of like gameplay or anything like that, but the story is convoluted. But it's not at all. Yeah. Like it seems like it would be, because there's all these moving parts.
Yeah.
There's all these moving parts, and it's a very like complex setup.
You know what it's like? It's like a clock.
Mm-hmm.
You have all these moving tiny, because like you look at the clock with the face missing, and it's just like a time travel story. You just see all these tiny pieces that are moving in unison, and you're like, all these pieces have to move perfectly to make, like, especially with time travel stories, like there's so many moving parts, they all have to work together to make sense. I mean, I love Back to the Future, but that story doesn't make any sense at all. That story is just like they're just like, whatever, I don't care, it's just fun, which is fine. I mean, that's the kind of story it is, whatever. But yeah, which is funny because it's like a clock. It's like the first thing you see in the game is like a clock. It's just like, oh, game, you're so
pendulum. Yeah, man. I mean, the stories. I don't have anything negative on that front. I mean, except for, I guess, sort of with Chrono being revived, there's a little convenience, I guess, in there that's sort of just.
But it's optional. It is though, man. Like it. When I say that, it sounds ridiculous because it's like he's the main character. But I remember as a kid, when I first played this, I didn't know you could revive him. Yeah. Honestly, because you have to talk to certain people to like get the ball rolling on that side quest. Mm-hmm. So I just thought that, look, wow, they actually killed off the main character of the game.
That's so sad. You must have been so sad.
No, I mean, I've always been a weirdo, so I like when stories are ballsy enough to kill.
Oh no, I do now, but as a kid, I would have hated that.
I was a weirdo.
I think I had a friend who like told me about like how to get to it, because like, yeah, I was able to revive Chrono. I didn't ever beat the game without him. But I do remember. Yeah. Well, anyways, so
I kind of want to. I mean, I have kind of an overarching kind of. Did you do the forest? You did the forest side quest, right?
Yep.
And with, going into Lucas when they're in the forest.
So
this right here.
So you if you convince the chick, it's so obscure. You have to convince this chick in this random town in Zeal to not fucking burn this little tiny sapling.
Yeah.
And then
Zeal is like burn.
Fiona. And then she lives in this in the medieval ages. It's actually like a really melancholy side quest.
Yeah.
And she lives in this desert, and you clear out the monsters in this desert underground. So because they're the ones that have turned this whole place into like this, wasteland that used to be lush. And then, she needs someone to chill with her for 400 years to help her plow the land and get, all the plants growing again. And so you leave Robo there, and then you come back 400 years later, and he's like, there's this like this sanctuary devoted to the lady, and he's just like sitting there.
My favorite part of that is like I'm glad you prefaced that, because like he had 400 years, and that's why I love this scene. It's like one of my favorite scenes of the whole game, because like Robo is just ruminating on what he's been thinking about the past 400 years, and he talks about like how, I mean, you reflect back on like the whole story, and these portals just pop up, and they just take you to literally they're basically like Deus Ex Machina portals. It's like, hey, you need to learn about the origins of Lavos. Wow, good job. I'm glad this portal just opened and brought you. And like Robo ruminates on how, he calls it like the entity, and how like there's some type of other who's, wanting to stop Lavos, and it's never, I love it because it's never told what it is. It's never, there are theories that it's Shala from Beyond Time. There's theories that it's the player in a meta sense. My theory, I go along with that it's in almost a Final Fantasy VII live stream sense. Like it's the planet itself. That we're like we're like the characters, it's present time to them, but they're actually living inside the dream of the planet. So the planet is having a nightmare because of Lavos, and the planet is helping these people by popping these little portals, like wherever, like plot convenient portals. I love that. I'm just like, that's so cool.
No, I do too. And I like, again, cool. Like you said, it's another thing that could have never been addressed, but it is.
Yeah. It's such a, because like without that little scene, the more you think about it, like you would fall into like the game just is like Deus Ex Machina. It's just like, wow, look at this plot convenient. It's like, oh no, it's like in the end of Act 1 when like you're being chased after the trial, and like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and then suddenly this portal pops up and then sends you to 2300 AD, where, oh wow, you just happen to be near where you learn about Lavos. Wow, what a coincidence.
Yeah. I kind of like that. I kind of like the headcanon that it's like it's the player. It's like the player's will, but like I kind of, they did a big chunk of that, like in Nier Automata and stuff, which I just like that kind of thing. That meta, man, it's so meta.
See, I like the planet's dream because it fits with, like, they talk about dreams constantly in this game. Like, it's like, especially in Zeal, like I love freaking Zeal, because like you go to that first city in Zeal, and like there's like a dream institute where like people are sleeping and people are like analyzing dreams and doing dream drugs, and like it's just like, this is like awesome. This is like Inception, but before and cooler. Because this is awesome.
Yeah, this is like Dark City before it was dark.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, no, Zeal is such a cool turn in the whole story where you go there and it's just like,
well, it takes
Corridors of Time really does set the fucking stage for that whole city.
Final Fantasy always used the ancient civilization that was extremely advanced but disappeared kind of motif. Like Final Fantasy has used that since Final Fantasy 1.
But this one gives you the like entire reason why they're there. And it like actually fleshes them out versus the like just the convenient plot point of there's an ancient civilization and that's why it's here. It's like, no, they're there because they're able to be these. They're not really hyper advanced.
They're an integral part. Well, they are advanced, but
they're artificially advanced. They
wouldn't have been if they wouldn't have gotten
the Mammon machine.
Yeah, if they would have kept with. Oh, I love the like. It was like the reptites were like extremely advanced. Like you fight Azela and she has like psychic powers and like she knows what, like she sees the time key and she's like, huh, and she's like figuring how to use a freaking time key. This is like 65 million years ago, and like
it's like the you know they constantly make judgment on the apes as though they are the gross dirty ones.
Which they were, and it's funny to think what, I mean, spoiler, but Chrono Cross kind of delves into like the what ifs if Lavos never came, what would a species based off dinosaurs or reptiles look like? It's kind of like Mario Brothers movie, but better. But I love that because like if like Zeal basically used all the technology from the reptites until the Mammon machine, and then Queen Zeal was like, no, we should just suck off the power of the thing that's sucking off the dreams of the planet. That sounds good.
Yeah, we should suck it off. Suck off the planet. Yeah, but I don't know, but there's something so magical about Zeal, and it's funny. Is it at first it does feel like you're like, I have reached nirvana, dude. Like this place is so fucking chill, and then you realize that they're like so not chill.
Yeah.
They're like the opposite of chill.
Well, like the closer you get to the capital, you know, because like that first town, you're like
they're super chill. They
have like dream studies, and you get to that second town, and like they're more about studying magic, but they started turning away from the old elemental magic. And then they started towards this like new Mammon machine magic. Which and then the closer you get to the capital of Zeal, and it's hinted just a couple of times.
That's another
NPC dialogue, but like
super awesome. Just you know that Dutch angle artistic awesome thing is the Mammon machine.
I love
that room. That's one of those rooms too, just like the courtroom. It's just like, God, the angle. What is the angle of this fucking shot is so cool, and it's on this tiny screen. I don't know how they pull that off. Because in my memory, it's like this huge fucking room, and I'm like, I was playing it on a DS, man. Like, but yeah. So they have the machine that sucks off the earth, and then that's why they're artificially powerful, and the queen's growing very corrupted, i.e. the king in Lord of the Rings, and the Mammon machine is Wormtongue.
No, actually, Yakra is Wormtongue.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay. And then we go down and to the Ocean Palace, and we take care of the queen, and she's like, no, I'm gonna feed off all the power, and then you find out the prophet that was there the whole time is like Magus, and he was actually put back in time. He's like two people in one time period.
Well, I'm gonna go back to near the beginning of the game because the first act does this little deceiving thing when it comes to time travel, because the first act you go back to 600 AD, and you have the game takes its time to explain to you a time travel mechanic that doesn't actually exist within Chrono Trigger. Like they talk about, oh, we got to save the queen, because if we don't, then Marl doesn't exist. But that doesn't make any sense, because everything after that point in the story, if like they're basically, like, there's time travel immunity, where like the characters can manipulate things in time, but it doesn't affect them personally. Like that's like a time travel like writing thing. It's just like a way to protect your characters, basically. And there's so many moments after that where they have time travel immunity, but they take a moment in the beginning of the game to teach you about the grandfather paradox of like, don't kill your grandfather or he won't exist.
Yeah, because they stop looking for the queen because they think they found her.
Yeah, but but later, even after that point of the game contradicts itself and says, no, that's not actually how time travel works. So like, I don't know if it's some like weird, like, I don't know. My headcanon to explain that oddness is basically if the crew didn't think that they could actually make a change, because the thing about time travel and Chrono Trigger is they never actually change anything. They never do until they get the Chrono Trigger. But even that's a different thing. But all they do is fulfill time. All they do,
you're changing the mind or giving someone an item, and at one point in time.
But they were always supposed to have that item.
Yeah,
you were destined to go back in time or forward in time and change something.
Okay, so why did Marl fucking like
exactly
disappear?
My theory is if the characters didn't see that happen to Marl, they wouldn't have believed that they could change the future. Therefore, they would have just given up once they discovered what Lavos was. So my headcanon is that the planet, the player, the Shala, whatever, basically made that happen, so that would give the characters a false sense of control of their destiny, because they really don't have any control until they get the Chrono Trigger. Because like the Chrono Trigger, once they get the Chrono Trigger, they're able to make their dreams come reality. They get to actually change the future.
So what else in the story disproves that theory that you can't be like, because who else in the game do you like kill?
Well, because the point of the game is you don't change the future, you just fulfill the future.
Oh, I see.
You know what
You're
I mean?
just saying that it really was a strange mechanic to bring up at the beginning.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it doesn't really. It doesn't.
Yeah, I feel like it was on purpose, because they spent a good amount of time explaining how time travel works, and then they immediately go, no, that's not how time travel works in this game.
I think it's more so just saying like, don't fuck with people's descendants, because like whatever happens in the future might like.
No, but they do though, because Isla is a descendant of Marl. Like they go back and mess with stuff, but the thing is, they were always meant to go back and mess with stuff. Like they were fated to go back in time, and it's like, is it really changing the future when you were destined to go back in time and change the future?
Yeah, well, maybe that has to do with the whatever entity that is not Lavos.
Definitely not Lavos.
It's not Lavos helping out. Yeah, there's a part like where there's the dude who stole the Sunstone, and he's the mayor, and he's just a total fucking chode, and all his whole family is like, I wish he was dead. Yeah. Literally, his daughter is like, it's hilarious talking to his family. They're all like, yeah. I hate my dad so much. And they're like, I wish that fucking dude was like dead. And I'd mix it. And then the youngest one's like, my dad's not really an asshole, right? Like everyone says he is. And then like you go back in time and like give his mom this like super expensive jerky for free. And then like it just makes, I guess, his upbringing ends up becoming like way different. Yeah. And so he's like super.
That was after you were able to do that when you had the Chrono Trigger. So my thing with the Chrono Trigger is, basically,
that's why the side quests exist.
That's why the side quests exist. Yes, because now that you have the Chrono Trigger, everything that you do basically, it's hard to explain. It's like
Because
everything.
before the Chrono Trigger, all you're doing is collecting items or recruiting people throughout time. Not exactly like you're not doing anything super permanent. Well, I don't know.
Well, the thing
Except
is,
for,
like, it's hard. It's hard. Time travel is really hard to talk about. But like,
yeah,
basically, before the Chrono Trigger, they were only able to fulfill time. Like, they were supposed to beat Magus at his castle, so they could be sent. So he could be sent to 12,000 BC, so he could. You know what I mean? Like, he was meant to do that. Like, we were meant to go back in time and fight Magus, so he could go back in time and try to save Shala, and then all that stuff happens. So like, but before you get the Chrono Trigger, it's like you were just fulfilling destiny. But the crew thought the crew thought that they were like changing destiny, which they really weren't. They were just kind of going along with the planet's dream, basically. But once you get the Chrono Trigger, now they can make their own dreams. Now they can go, you know what? I want the canon ending to include this, and that. You know, like, I want to do this now. Like, and then that bleeds into like the New Game Plus. I love the New Game Plus because it's a narrative thing too. Because like now they have time travel and the Chrono Trigger, so now they can go back to the beginning of the game and be like, I'm gonna beat Labos right now. Boom, Chrono Trigger. Like, I can alter reality so that it was always meant to be. Because before it was the entity controlling. Yeah, that's another way to put it. But before the Chrono Trigger, it was the entity telling the party, you have to fulfill this destiny. With the Chrono Trigger, now the player can be like, I want this to be the destiny.
I want this to be the real end. So we could talk about the time stuff forever, but there's just like no real way to yeah, it's so up for interpretation, and so it's time travel, man. It's like one of those things. It's like you could talk about it for 1,000 years.
But I don't know, like it's so well done because again with like Back to the Future, it's like there's so many rule sets that are in Back to the Future. It's like there's so many conflicting things that happen in Back to the Future. What are the rules of time travel? But with Chrono Trigger, it's like you can explain all the rules and everything makes sense. And same thing with Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy VIII has a really cool time travel story too. As much hate as that game gets.
I want to talk about something a little more just like surface level. This game introduced sympathetic villains. I don't remember ever playing a video game before this that had sympathetic villains. Especially multiple.
Not as sympathetic as this, because you can say that like Final Fantasy IV. Golbez was his name. Golbez. Cecil's brother or whatever, or like Kane. Like there's like there's been like anti-hero kind of characters, but like there's never been especially with so many. Like, I mean, you really feel for these.
Magus and Azala are both. I mean, like Azala, you beat her, and she's like, "Please take care of the planet."
Yeah,
you know, that's like her last fucking request. Yeah, and Magus isn't even that. Like he's a total dickwad.
Yeah, he's just consumed with.
He has probably one of the most fleshed out and crazy stories because he is this little boy, and he's like. Even that is like really his story is just cool as fuck. And then like even to a lesser extent, like Ozzy, Flea, and Slash are kind of sympathetic villains in a weird way because they're just like
I don't know. Ozzy's kind of unforgivable.
But they're like I guess good comical. I guess
yeah.
They're like the Three Stooges, but like I also wanted to make a note. I mean, another thing, like, because this game again was so ahead of its time. It was like one of the first ones to do so many things and like sympathetic villains and the visual storytelling, and then the first New Game Plus side quests. I don't remember doing a lot of actual side quests in games that told a real story.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I think I've ever seen a trans character in a video game. I mean, Flea is totally a trans, because what I thought was really interesting is when you first fight Flea and Slash and Ozzy, they're like, Flea comes out and he's just like, he's like, hello, and he's like all, he's in his like dress or whatever, and they're like, wait, that's a guy? And he's like, whatever, man or woman, beauty is power, it doesn't matter. And then later on, when you fight him again, he goes by she. Ideology. he goes by she. He doesn't go by he anymore. He's like, he doesn't claim to be a male. It's not like shoved in your face or anything. It's just like this. I thought it was kind of like, again, another thing that this game was so ahead of its time in certain storytelling things. It just like, or just characterizations, that it was just like, again, like one of those things, like this didn't have to be in there because at the time, this wasn't something, but like, it's just another thing this game does that's just like, man, these guys were all like so ahead of everything, and these guys in a room were just, like again, like the new game plus, like the fuck, that's like a mainstay now. You know what I mean? Well,
it should be a mainstay, but it's.
I mean, so many games have it. Even like almost like linear. God of War is like it's like a slightly, like not super linear, but it's like a wide linear action game. Gotta speed this up a little bit. My camera is actually about to die. Unfortunately. So best thing I want to talk. I mean, kind of everyone knows the setup, and it's obviously the time travel story, and you're going throughout time collecting your party and the items and all this that you need to like basically be equipped to fight Lavos. And it's kind of similar to Breath of the Wild, where you can just like, you can just like fight him now, or you can like wait till you're like fully badass. And then two things, when I chose to fight him, obviously I had the time machine you get, the Epoch. I had it where it had the wings, and if you have that, you can use it to crash through his shell. And that is such a cool fucking sequence. Even like visually, even now, I can't believe how cool and striking that looks. It almost reminds me of, say what you will about the fucking movie, but you can't deny that the part in The Last Jedi where they fly a fucking ship through
you're talking to a guy who just referenced Mario Brothers movie. And I actively enjoy that movie.
I enjoy it too, whatever. But yeah, it reminds me of like when they hyperdrive through the fucking other thing, like you're hyperdrive through his fucking shell, and like break your ship and wake up and you're like, where the fuck are we? And then that whole sequence is so cool and well done. Again, another like really cool cinematography. Because like it's like from your first person perspective, you see like the controls, and then it'll show like from the side, and it shows it like flying into the thing, and it's just like really cool.
And again, that's an optional thing. Like you could just go into the Black Omen and fight him. Like you don't have to crash.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's just like, well, again, once it's like the game is pretty linear, and then you get that Chrono Trigger. You get the Chrono Trigger around the same time you get the Winged Epoch, and then the game opens up. Narratively, it opens up like geographically, like it's super awesome.
The storytelling in the final boss battle is like, I mean, I didn't even realize this till you kind of explained it to me, that because I was just like, I've done so much fucking damage to this right pod, because you fight Gigas, there's the 3 forms that we've already talked about, and then the last form is like this decrepit, like, it looks like an astronaut that's just zombified, and he has these 2 pods floating over him, and you don't realize that that Lavos is the bright pod. He's the one that he has the most HP, because like I'm like attacking that thing the whole damn game, and I've even killed him, and then he comes back, and I'm like, what the fuck? I don't remember this. Like I'm like, and I refused to look up a fucking guide, and so I just kept like, and
Lavos itself, like Lavos is like a little seed inside of like an apple. So like that first battle is like just like the skin, and then it's just like you get to the meat, which is the man machine looking thing. Which I love. The second form looks like man machine basically. It's pretty cool. And then like the core, and it's not even the core; it's just one of the seeds, just this tiny little seed.
Yeah, you think the core is what you're fighting, and you're killing it, and then it's like, and then it disappears, and you're like, I did it, and then the two pods are still floating there, and you're like, what the fuck? And then you finally, and then once you destroy the right pod, then everything like disappears. And I was like, and they don't explain that to you. They don't even really say.
Again, gameplay through, or narrative through gameplay.
And I also think I think that ending that ending is pretty canon. I think it's because it's ending one. There's a lot of endings in this thing. You could really go down a rabbit hole if you want to look at some of them online.
Some of them are.
There's even one where like Robo and the chick, the pink robot, like bump into each other in the square.
Yeah,
and it's not even Chrono and Marl.
One of my favorites is if you beat the game before you beat Azala, like it goes into an alternate future where there's instead of humans there's reptites, and like it's like the intro of the game, but instead of Chrono and his mom, it's like a little reptite, and like the little reptite like runs into like a reptite Marl, and it's just like stupid stuff like that. I love this game.
And then one of them's like where you go to the end of time, and it's just like a bunch of the developers or whatever like hanging out, and you like fight one of them, and like it's crazy how much shit they put into this game that but like people will never see that love this game.
Yeah.
And that's, again, like I said, that's what reminds me of Nier Automata, because it has those 25 different endings, and like people, a normal person won't ever see this shit. Like, they're putting so much into this. But I really do think that, I don't know why I like it so much. And I totally forget about this part when I was a little kid. But for one, the part at the end when they're all going back to their respective time periods, because you have to, time has to be chill, and Robo's gonna go back, and Luca's just standing there, and like Luca's like, why aren't you even saying bye to Robo, dude? What are you doing? So and it's like, and they realize like Robo's like, it's because in the future that I go to is not going to be there because Lagos has not destroyed the world, so there's a very high probability that I won't exist. I would have never been built. That part fucked me up.
I know, me too. I was not expecting that. Like, she hugs him and she's like, she loves Robo, and Robo's like, I don't know where I'm going.
When he bumps into the shit, like he's like, it's like stupid oil in my eyes, like and then he goes in, and then they do this. It's kind of a Star Wars Episode 4 type of ending, where it's like a parade, and it's like very like
which is funny because the whole game takes place during that fair.
Yeah, the fair.
So
going on
this whole game, because the way time travel works in Chrono Trigger, it's like continuous. So like if you go like 600 AD. September 11th, 3 p.m., and you go to 11, or you go to 1000, then it's going to be that same date, same time, but it's just the year that's changed. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like the clock is always going. So yeah, this whole game is just like a couple of days. And it's just like this epic, amazing journey.
It's just been a few days. And it's been a weekend, but it's basically been a weekend.
Yeah, it's been a weekend.
And then so they do the night, and then it's finally like the end of the fair, and then they do the moonlight parade for Chrono and Marl and everybody and Luca, and then they finally bring the new bell or whatever that they name after Marl or her
Lean's bell.
What?
Lean?
Yeah. So. And then, she goes to hang it up, and she has like the balloons that are tied to it or whatever. And then she starts kind of like getting tugged away by the wind, and she's got all these balloons, and she starts floating. She's like, Chrono! And Chrono like jumps up, and he like grabs onto her. And for some reason, this should have been so corny, but I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's the charm of the game or the sprite work or the music or just
everything.
It's the balloons and the bell symbolize the opening of the game. And so it's just like, then the credits roll, and it's just them two, like, it's kind of like Up. It's like the movie Up. It's just like them. They're just like floating through the fucking sky, like, Like, and the way
fireworks.
I think it's the way that it's like the way he's holding her. The sprite work again is so goddamn beautiful.
Or the part where Chrono is revived and Marl just goes up and just grabs him.
Yeah, she's like
that gets
almost
me
like
too.
yeah. That's those two different sprite works where you can see the emotion in the sprites. Like, what is that? But yeah, like just like watching the credits for this amazing game while these people are like floating away on these balloons. Like, I don't know. It was just like the perfect ending. And it's only one of like, 25 fucking endings. So it's like, it's crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I get kind of choked up talking about it. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
No, it's because like there's two kind of canon endings. There are kind of variations. There's like one where you destroy the epoch and one where you don't. It's really the only variation.
Yeah, the one where you fight Lavos through like the Black Omen, or you go through the bucket, and then the one that you crash the epoch into it. Because I still think the crashing the epoch's like the coolest way to go, dude. Like you're literally taking your time machine and using it as a weapon to defeat the first phase.
It's definitely the most cinematic. Like Black Omen, you get like a time, like when you're going through Black Omen, like a time gate opens, and then something called an Elder Lavos spawn pops out.
That's what I did originally when I first played it.
Just like what? I have my own
Elder
head. What the heck that's about?
An old baby?
Or it's just like the first Lavos spawn, basically. It's like the first Lavos spawn went back in time to stop me from killing his mom. I don't know. Yeah, and then you see like weird like versions of you in like tubes. It's like, what the hell is going on? There's a lot of
that was originally. That's why I don't think I ever saw the full like I never saw the epoch crash into the. That's why this was so cool for me. But yeah, man, game's fucking amazing.
No, the game, it's like tonally, it gives you that. It makes you feel like you're a kid and you're hearing, and like when you're a kid and you are playing with your friends with sticks outside and you pretending that you're knights or ninjas or just like. There's something about this game that like it captures a childlike wonder and imagination, and
it will
that ending. It's like mucho amor.
Yeah, and like all the different angles too. Like as long as it goes, like I don't know, man. It just there's something so like satisfying about it. And it, like again, at first it seemed kind of goofy. It's like, what, y'all are both just gonna get taken into the air by a bunch of balloons? Are you serious? Yeah. And then it's like, oh my god, this is like, because you're like, this is so dumb.
You're like, why is it?
This is the stupidest fucking ending I've ever. Yeah, it's so fucking stupid. I hate it. It's dumb. But yeah, no. Really good fucking game. And like I said, I kind of echoed that with some of the scenes in Xenoblade Chronicles, like when you fall from the sky and like spoilers for Xenoblade Chronicles if you haven't played that. When you spoiler your character Shulk kisses Fiora. He kisses Fiora and she's like dead. And then she's like, my first kiss. And it's just like this. And it should have been cheesy, but it's like such a Disney almost. Yeah. It's like a Disney moment. It's like watching Aladdin for the first time or something. It's like, oh man, it's so fucking stupid. I hate it.
A Disney moment.
I think that's the way to describe this Chrono Trigger. It reminds me of like the golden age. It's the golden age of video games, clearly.
Well, it really does take the best of Enix at the time and the best of Square at the time, because like the Dragon Quest games, they have that kind of simplicity to it, and they also have that like charm to it. And
Dragon Quest has always been known also for telling like I know that Final Fantasy's always been a little more
simple.
a little more mature in the storytelling, but
Yeah.
Dragon Quest has always had that kind of thing where it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of simple and childlike, but then
It
they tell you
seems so.
you do the story where it like rips your heart out.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah,
oh
yeah.
my god, that's so
Yeah.
fucking sad. Like in Dragon Quest 11 with the mermaid, you know, like, and the mermaid just floats out to sea to like kill herself. Like you're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Huh?
No, this game definitely has that going for it. Which, I mean, yeah, the Dragon Quest, yeah, it's like a Dragon Quest effect of like deceivingly simple, but like you just look under the surface and you're like, oh, my heart. But it was so simple.
It's just it was so simple.
But it also takes stuff from Square too, with like, you know, the convolution of the plot and, you know, the ancient sophisticated technologies, and yeah, it really is the best Final Fantasy and the best Dragon Quest.
Is a very like Square.
Well, I mean, Lavos,
creation.
yeah, because Lavos pretty much became Deus, Genova, like,
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
much all the mid to late '90s super villains in their RPGs. Can you just be rooted?
Lavos. They're like, we want to do like all the villains in one. But yeah, is there any more else you wanted to say?
I mean, I have tons to say, but
oh yeah, we could talk for 1,000 hours.
It's just, yeah, because there's just so much to say. Like, there's just too much to say. It's one of those games that blends all of its elements perfectly. Its gameplay presentation blends with the sound, blends with the gameplay, blends with the narrative, and just makes this perfect. It's a meal. It's like we want to go with the food analogy. It's like a full course meal. It's like the perfectly balanced, like, full course meal.
But just enough. Like
yeah.
You're not like, you don't feel bloated afterwards. You don't feel like
you're just like, that was the perfect meal.
Like you feel like it was so, the meal and the meal. It was so perfect that it makes you want to go cry and afterwards.
You're just like, I hate the cook. I hate that he's so good at his job.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of when I beat Earthbound for the first time. I was so sad that the game was over.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know why, because the ending is just such a great ending, and it has such a happy ending. And why am I sad? What is happening? Oh, is these feelings? Am I feeling things now?
This is love that I'm feeling.
If you have not played Chrono Trigger yet, please go fucking play it. You can get it on the DS. It's kind of hard to find. You can also get it, download it if you have a PS Vita.
Go
download it on your PS3.
Yeah, go buy. Well, if you don't have any system, you have a phone. Go download.
Oh yeah,
the Android version is pretty solid.
Yeah, I have that version. It's fine. I mean, it has all the extra content from the DS version. So. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are our very scattered thoughts. I'm sure we missed a lot, but
yeah, I give this game a winged epoch out of 10.
I give it a leveled up Masamune.
A Master Mune?
I give it out of 10.
Highest accolades.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Critical Beard Podcast. We love you. We love Chrono Trigger. Stay happy, stay healthy, and don't fight bears. Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. See you later today.